Hey guys, so where we're starting at today is I have taken our last K21 test and pulled some questions off of it, and we're going to talk about those questions and how we missed them. Not everybody missed it, but most, it was a good percentage, so I want to go back over that. I had you watch two videos before you looked at this, and the first one was on function tables. And what I want us to talk about first is setting up a function table. I told you last time that, or a T-chart as we called it, that when you have a problem that starts with a rule for X and a rule for Y, the first thing that I want you to do is to set up a chart. I think that's where a lot of us miss this problem, is because we didn't set our charts up. Because this problem was a very easy problem. It was just how do you plot these points, but we didn't catch what they wanted us to plot. This is a paper copy of the Case21 test, so the question's a little different. But if y'all remember when we did this question, a lot of y'all kept coming up and saying, Ms. Streep, I don't know how to get this one to plot. It's not enough room for me to plot the fourth point. Well, that's where if you do your T-chart, I think it would have helped you, because you didn't look at where the chart started. So first of all, that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to just scoot the picture over for just a minute. And I'm going to just make my little T-chart. Just like that. Just a capital T, nothing fancy. And I'm going to put X here. I'm going to put Y here. Just like that. Okay? Very simple. Okay, now, so what you're doing is we are just going to look at X. Don't even look at the Y. I'm even going to take my marker or my pen and just mark out that side. Y'all wouldn't do this, of course, because you have to be able to see that side, but I can erase it in just a minute. So we're just going to look at our X. Our X says to start with 0 and then add 3 each time. Well, this is very easy. So we're going to go over here and we're going to go 0. We're going to add 3. So we got 3. Then we're going to say 3 plus 3 again, and we would get 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. And 12 plus 3 is 15. You could keep going and going and going with that, but that's where we're going to stop on that side. And if y'all notice I pause sometimes in the video, just overlook me. I am missing y'all so bad, and I'm used to asking a question and then I pause and y'all answer me. Well, there's nobody here to answer me. So it's breaking my heart not to have y'all with me, but I think this will get us through until we can all meet again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to erase what I scribbled over my X rule, because we have my Y rule, excuse me. We have our X all ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm only going to look at my Y, okay? I'm only going to look at my Y. I'm going to start with 1, so I would go ahead and I'm going to change my color just to keep it separate. I'm going to just write a 1, okay? Now, my rule says start with 1 and add 2. So I'm going to say 2 plus 1. What's 2 plus 1? 3. Easy, right? 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. All right, so we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. All right, so now when we look at this chart, we've got it laid out, and we can see the X side and the Y side. So we know we can plot this point, because X and then Y. Remember, X goes across, do your arm motions that we learned in class, and Y goes sky high. So we know that our X is going to come first. It's the first letter is before Y in the alphabet, but it's also, remember, with our arms, when we take them and we turn them, we also remember that babies crawl before they can climb trees, so we're going to crawl first. So what we're looking for is we're looking for one of these quadrants that these points have been plotted correctly. This is where when I talk about the computer copy was different than the paper copy, this was the question that everybody freaked out and couldn't get those points plotted. Well, the reason you missed it is because you didn't start with your first point. We all wanted to go on to point 3-3, but your first point, because it said plot the first 4 points, is what you started with. Well, when we look now, we can see what our first point is. And our first point, if we go ahead and put it in parentheses, is going to be 0, 1. That's where we messed up. Everybody wanted to go ahead and go to that next point, that 3-3, and then you couldn't put a point way out because it was too tall and it was not even on the quadrant plane that we had on our question. So that's where you need to really notice that, oops, I see, I didn't plot that first point. That's why if you will do your T-chart and look at it as a function, if you'll do that every single time when you have a question like this, it'll help you find the right answer. So let's go ahead, let's go over here, and let's take a look and see which one of these shows us our first point. Our first point is 0, 1. 0, 1. Okay, remember, x comes first, so we're not even moving for x. We're staying at 0. Does anybody remember what our origin is called? It is 0, 0. So if we look right here where the x-axis and the y-axis meets, we have 0, 0. All right, so we're looking for one of these charts that has 0, 1 plotted. So we're going over. We're not going over any, but we're going up 1. So do you see which one is going to be our answer? Our answer would be D. The reason our answer would be D is we did not move over, but we moved up. Remember the giant grid that I made on the floor in the classroom and how we moved. We never moved up. We always moved over first. So remember that. All right, so now let's see if our always, like I've always told you, double check. Make sure that all of the points are there. So let's go over here. We can see we went over 3, up 3, and we have 3, 3 as our next point. Then if we look right here, we have over 6, up 5, and we have our answer there. We went over 9 and up 7. So we're going to go over 9, up 7, just like that. All right, so D would be our answer. I really and truly think that y'all struggled with that question because we didn't do our T-chart first, okay? Now, we're going to go over one more of these because I want you to be sure and you've got this down before we move on to something else. All right, it says, consider the 3 points on the coordinate plane. The table shows the rules for X and Y. Okay, so it's giving us our X and Y rule. First thing I told you a few seconds ago, go ahead and draw your little T-chart. Do X and Y. Excuse me, X and Y. All right, so it tells me, if I look right here, it tells me start with 2 and add 1. So I'm going to start with 2. I'm going to say 2, and then I'm going to add 1. This one's easy. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. 5, 6, 7, and so on. You could go on and on and on. Now, my second rule is to start with 0 and add, for Y, we're going to start with 0, and we're going to add 3 each time. So we're going to say 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 plus 3 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15. Like I said, you could keep going and going and going, but there's no need for what we're looking at. All right, so now it says, if the pattern continues, what is the value of the y coordinate when the x coordinate is 5? Okay, we've drawn our T-chart. That's going to make it really, really easy. If we just go over here, we can look. We can find x is 5. Right there is our x is 5. That's easy. We can see that, and we know the number right beside it because we put our parentheses around them and a comma in the middle. We know that our 9 is the answer we're looking for. Do you see how much easier that was when I took the time to draw my T-chart? I know it takes a few minutes, but it's a few seconds, not even minutes, seconds. But if you'll take that time and set things up, you can look back. I told y'all when we're taking tests and things, our brain gets tired sometimes and we see things differently. Well, if you'll go ahead and set this up just like with your just like this every time with a T-chart, you're going to be able to grab it real quick. The answer's right there, so be sure and do that. All right, so what we're going to do to finish up today, what y'all are going to do, and I'm going to shut down my video, or this video in just a second, but what you're going to do is I have you a Mastery Connect short 4-question quiz. Shouldn't take you but a couple minutes. And what I'm going to do with that quiz, if it is good and you do great on it, it's going to help your grade, okay? So what I need you to do is take the quiz. After you take it, I'm going to go through and look at, grades and proficient, if you're red, yellow, or green, like I always do. And this is going to help me know tomorrow when we meet at 12 o'clock, those of you that will be on, we're going to look and see, I'm going to look and see who might need a little extra support with this. Who has it, who's ready to go, who needs a few more minutes with it to help you meet what needs you need. So, I am going to go ahead and your codes are on your Google Classroom sheet and it's ready to go. Also, I am also going to go ahead and put on your Google Meets code. That's where you will click and you will meet me tomorrow. I'm so excited to see y'all's face. I wish I could see you in person. I'm going to be ready to see everybody, but that's where you're going to go to meet me, and we're going to be able to talk. So if you have a question about any of this, please write them down, jot them to the side, and tomorrow you will literally be able to talk to me and ask me your question. So I love all y'all, and I will see you tomorrow.